And this is beautiful. Today is your birthday. You live in the central regional capital of Cape Coast, Carrick, Adum Nyamiche Queening, and this is coming from your mother, Vera Winifred Idiam Queening, and then also your dad, Patrick, and the rest of the family, including your granddad especially, and mom, and the rest, Rhoda, and the rest of the family. I wish you the best for the day. And then also Sunday will be your birthday. Achim Beyonce, Mami Ekuya, you work with the Tema Oil Refinery. I wish you a blessed day, my dear. And your lunch on Sunday is definitely on all of us. We wish you all the best for the day. Mama Vio Sabwaje had been reading that ruling summarized before we get into detail. I'm sure had also made many references. All of us have. Otherwise, you can't sit here today. But we'll have Joseph joining us, Mama. Good morning to you.
Good morning. I'll give you a second so you can wear your mask, Roland Walker.
Great.
Yeah. All right. Good morning. If you missed the news, well, you made it in good time. We've got the newspapers coming up. Joseph Akable, our court correspondent who did such a fantastic job reporting for us from the courts yesterday, will join us for the review. We'll ask him all the backstory, the things that happen off air. So, Joseph, let's see if you're on with us. Good morning.
Good morning, Mavi.
Blazing Gear. Good morning. Good to see you. Roland is all set now with his mask because I'm seated right by you.
Yeah, I'm wondering why Joseph is not wearing a mask.
Because
I'm seated alone.
Is that part of the protocol when you're alone? I thought they said when you're in a car, you'll be caught. Arrested.
Public place.
Now I'm confused. When you people are broadcasting the news, how do you do? Now I'm confused. This flouty regulation. I think we need to call it Fiatenge.
Stay confused.
But it was good work you did, Joseph, and we all have to say that you exercised a certain level of editorial discretion and caution at some point in time. I won't say it to our viewers, but look, it was very professional, and you're good at what you do.
Yeah. You know,
thanks, guys.
Okay, let's jump into the newspapers. You're doing the Ghanaian Times and the Daily Guide. So let's see, Joseph. Let me begin with the Daily Graphic, and then you can come in. Front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Banner headline, really, Supreme Court affirms CI 126. Registration starts Tuesday without old voter ID and birth certificates. We know the various interpretations that went on. NPP to acclaim a Kufuor flag bearer tomorrow. Graphic prioritizes national interests, according to the Bank of Ghana governor. Big ups, Daily Graphic. Wednesday's Earth Tremor Geological Survey cautions. It's got details on page 13. We'll touch a bit on that in the center spread, though. Digital system to monitor petroleum depot revenues launched. Cabinet approves bill to decentralize births, deaths registration. 60 immigration officers begin counter-terrorism training. These are the stories in the center spread of the paper. And on the back page, youth clash with military at Patrinsa. Tension is mounting between the youth of Konongo and Aurora Mines Limited at Patrinsa in the Ashanti Akim Central District over issues of encroachment in the mines concession area. The youth, many of whom are small-scale gold miners, last Wednesday, alleged to have encroached on the mine's concession. An attempt by the military detail at the mine to drive the illegal miners away from the concession led to the death of one of the youth. Okay, so details of that story there on the back page. Also, farmers in Gomoa Central receive free oil palm seedlings. And that'll be it, pretty much, what's on the front back center spread of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Joseph?
So we can first look at the front page of the Ghanaian Times. It has the story from the Supreme Court. It says, go ahead with new voters register without old voter IDs. Supreme Court rules as a photograph of Chief Justice Kwesi Eninyeboa. It says, police tasked to enforce wearing of masks in Accra. And IGP confers with political party representatives. And Cabinet approves bill to decentralize birth death registration, also on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. We can do the front page of the Daily Guide now. And the front page of the Daily Guide says, no old voter ID, SC throws out tricky NDC. And Baumia announces bets and deaths decentralization. Earth tremors shake Accra also on the front page. And KNUST gets first female vice chancellor. Those are our stories for the front page of the Daily Guide and the Ghanaian Times. I'm happy in Roland.
Well, so let me just quickly do. The Statesman has on the front page, Supreme Court rejects old ID cards as EC humiliates NDC, new voters register fight. Up there we have cabinet bill to decentralize births and deaths registration also ongoing. Well, yeah, so this is good. This is good. MPP to acclaim the Kufad was flag bearer. One of the cautions is that social distance will be maintained. It was just a bit of a puzzle. Yeah, it wasn't maintained adequately when they held the primaries, but, sometimes those are some of the things. So we have the Ghanaian publisher, has on the front page, Supreme Court uphold CI 126, and voter registration is starting on Tuesday. I know a couple of people who are part of this registration exercise. I have to say, Mr. Eric Japasu, you're now with the Electoral Commission, the Volta Regional Capital. Good morning to you. Good work you've been doing so far, been monitoring your work. A lot of accolades you're getting in there. I wish you all the best as this whole exercise starts. And then also, the finder says, round of existing voter ID cards, birth certificate. NDC loses case. Supreme Court clears EC to compile new register. Front page of the finder, straight up. Births and deaths, NIA databases to be integrated to enhance identification of citizens. Meanwhile, COVID-19 update is there. The Ashanti recording 205 new cases in 24 hours, 3 days. Yesterday, 400-something cases. The previous day, 700-something cases. Charlie, I decided to fear. Let me do the dispatch, then we'll go on to the mainstream issues. The Daily Dispatch has on the front page, of course, NDC versus EC, the full judgment, all here, right here, published by the Daily Dispatch. I have to say, this is good work by the Daily Dispatch, because none other paper has fully put everything there, and this is good. This is good. Even though we are individually, we'll have it. Earth tremors in Accra, a warning of a major earthquake. And if you read the story, you got to have an insight into many other related things about what we need to do. Accra has always been a prone area, and the main areas around Kuntunse.
Excuse me, what are you saying?
I'm reading map. Map, not be me, not be me talk. Kuntunse, Winneba, Fete.
What have we done?
Which part of the town do you live?
Let's see what you were reading.
Joseph has pretended not to hear me. Security, it's a security.
Can we do the details now?
It's a security zone.
No, I've got one last paper we haven't touched on.
This is the second time I'm asking where Joseph is living. He's never
The Ghanaian Observer. Let's do the Ghanaian Observer. Front page of the Ghanaian Observer. Of course, they couldn't have missed this story. Supreme Court dismisses NDC's case over compilation of new voters register. Cabinet approves bill to decentralize births and deaths registration. Government rules World Health Organization over coronavirus vaccine. GRA moves to block revenue loopholes in petroleum sector. And NPP outdoors Ekufuado Baumia Saturday.
That's tomorrow.
Pretty much, yes.
It's a whole party. Are we carrying it live? I'm sure. I'm sure. Joseph, are we carrying it live?
Roland, what's the question again? Roland, okay.
Okay, let's move on.
Are you done with all the papers?
Yeah, I think so. The ones that need to be done, yeah. Charlie, yeah.
What have you been smoking this early morning? It's not what you've been drinking. I'm not sure it has anything to do with what you've been drinking.
Shocker. Probably no, shocker with my wife.
All right, Joseph, let's jump into the courts. Because you were there, there was a bit of interpretation, various people interpreting what they thought they had heard. But describe to us the mood in the courts. Who was there, who wasn't there, but who was there is the question.
And so it was mainly, having leadership of the NDC present. I didn't see any identifiable leader of the MPP present. Obviously not, because the MPP is not a party in this particular matter. But obviously they were an interested group monitoring closely. But in terms of the courtroom, the NDC's delegation was led by Johnson Esiodin Ketia, the party's general secretary. There was also the former Attorney General Betty Modi-Drisu, and there was Joyce Mokhtari, who works in the office of the flag bearer and leader of the party, John Dramani Mahama. And so quite a host of other party members came in to listen closely. There was the sole judge, Justice Lovelace Johnson, who came in to sit at 9 a.m. So she sat from 9 till about 10:30 dealing with other issues, after which a 7-member panel walked into the courtroom. And I mean, for those who recall the election petition of 2012, the decision that was read was just for about 15 minutes. And for those who may not be again familiar with how the court reads a decision, what mostly happens is that the summary of the decision is read. Then afterwards, the presiding judge then reads the consequential orders. And so and the thing about reading the summary is he just gives a bit of the reasoning. And so when reading the the decision, he made the point that, I mean, as had been emphasized in the Ramadan cases, the EC is an independent institution that whose independence will not be interfered with unless it does something that is contrary to law. And so the court says that if the AC has two legal options and it chooses one of them, the court will never have any reason to interfere with the AC. It will only interfere with it if it has opted to do something that is contrary to law. And so after reading that, the court granted 2 of the reliefs of the NDC. Now, the first relief that was granted, Mamavi, has to do with the bit about the fact that when you have the right to vote as a citizen once you have attained 18 years of age, and that right cannot be taken from you capriciously. That was the first relief. That's relief 2 that was granted. Then relief 3 is the relief that has to do with the fact that once you are issued with a voter's card, that right, which the court says cannot be taken from you capriciously, accrues to you once you are issued with a card. And so those 2 reliefs were granted. There was no controversy about that. Then now in reading the consequential orders, the justices said that, Chief Justice Hussein Nyabwa said that the EC can go ahead to compile the register as it intends to do in compliance with Article 42 and 45 and CI 126 as has been passed by, as it's in force at that point in time. And so once he read that conclusion and we came out of the courtroom, I was clear in my mind at that stage that, I mean, it's obviously did not mean that it meant that the voter's ID card was not to be used, because CI 126, which we are aware of, did not include the use of the voter's ID card. Then the NDC leaders walked out of the courtroom. They were speaking to their lawyers briefly. In fact, it took a while for them to actually come out. More than 20 minutes, actually.
Okay.
They were in the courtroom for a while. And so I actually went back into the courtroom. We were at the public gallery upstairs. And so when we were waiting outside that they were not coming, I actually went downstairs. This time around, there was space downstairs. When I went there, I saw the lawyers. They had all gathered in various conversations. And when I drew closer to them, they were all trying to understand what it is that the court had said. And so I went to the NDC side. They were having a discussion. I moved over to the deputy AG side, Godfrey Dame side, who had told us that he had another case to do right there and then. And so they wouldn't be coming out soon. But he said, I mean, once it's in compliance with 126, it's obvious that, I mean, the voter's ID card was not to be used. And so we came out. Then now the NDC comes out and the NDC grants us an interview, and the NDC says, this is what is the understanding, that the court says the existing voter's ID card should be used. And so at that stage, I'd opened the various news platforms that we used to communicate to the office and then World Journal. And I'd seen a lot of questions and stories that were being sent asking me whether the AC says the voter's ID card should be used or not. And so at that stage, I mean, I took the decision that, I mean, it's better we get the order of the courts.
Yeah.
And so what was obvious was that, one, the court says the AC can compile a new register.
Exactly.
Then the AC says it should be in compliance with 126. And so I spoke to the editor that I'm sending a story that indicates that the court is saying that the AC can compile the register. The court is also saying that, I mean, it should be in compliance with 126. Then I'll read to you the reliefs that the NDC sought that were granted, which, if listened to closely, will put it in perspective that, I mean, the CI we know does not allow the use of the voter's ID card, but the NDC says it is victory for them. Just to put everything in the right context.
I mean, it was people on social media, and if you go to myjoyonline.com, you'd find the reaction on social media yesterday with the various interpretation, people understanding it the way they wanted to, I guess. And some people even suggesting that the court had to review its own decision because it wasn't clear enough. But I guess after waking up, after, you know, all the breakdowns, I guess we're clear in our minds, because the former president, Mahama, reacted to this yesterday. Most of the papers, I guess, missed it, maybe because of timing, but we certainly did not. So Mr. John Mahama has accused the NPP of manipulating the Electoral Commission to undertake a registration exercise that will exclude thousands of Ghanaians from voting. This was just hours after the Supreme Court turned down the NDC's request for the Electoral Commission to allow the Electoral Commission to allow prospective voters to get onto the register using the current voter's ID card. So really, this is where we are. But of course, he called on every Ghanaian, particularly members of the NDC, to get out there and register. So when it comes to the fact that we're compiling a register, Roland and Joseph, the parties would definitely, no matter where the position they took before, they'll get their supporters and pretty much everybody to go out there and register and vote on December 7th.
I think it's important that when the reliefs were being read out, once they got to 2, and it said it granted that subject to the fact that all voters needed to make themselves available in consonance with what the CI 126 did indicate, then it means that you have no alternative than to go according to what the dictates or the content of that CI was, based on which we're going to have this exercise.
Absolutely.
And I just thought that maybe within the climate of the political atmosphere in the electioneering, maybe the political actors in the NDC just maybe were a bit too hasty to make some of those, because then it creates a certain level of confusion. Social media tends to get way ahead before mainstream media.
We had lots of street lawyers in Ghana.
And when you do that, then
I thought the title was only on Kweku Bakujinia, but many street lawyers.
A lot of people have now become very much interested in the law, which is good. And so we needed to put the right sort of information out there.
Any other stories real quick? Joseph, Roland?
But I wanted to comment on the fact that despite the go-ahead still given to the Electoral Commission, there are still places in Ghana when the registration starts on Tuesday that people will have some difficulty in getting the number of guarantors that they'll need at a point in time. And so I want to say it is imperative that the Electoral Commission, the NCCE, if the media can also add, to create the needed education for people to know that they can have access to such actions.
So I listened to Mr. Martin Pemu on upfronts with Winston Amwa yesterday, and he did indicate, he said that there will be low turnout. He was hoping that even after the ruling, the Electoral Commission would still consider the usage of the old register to get people to vote in December, because there are people who will not feel safe, absolutely not, to want to go out there and register.
On one hand.
You can't take it away from people.
And then there are others too who feel that, look, why bother?
Exactly. So that's an individual's right.
And then those who don't
That's an individual's right. So we'll see how it goes when the process begins. Joseph, anything you want to touch on?
Just on the bits about the fear, you know, I had an interview with the Deputy AG Godfrey Abadame late afternoon after the decision, and he makes the point that he thinks that the process that will be carried out will be fair enough, in that everyone has the opportunity to register. If you don't have a passport or you don't have the Ghana card, the option is available that someone who registers can vouch for you. I think the limit is you can't vouch for more than 10 people. And so he thinks that works enough. And so obviously there should be some more education, just so that people who are out there don't feel like, I mean, there has been a decision that renders them or takes away their right to vote, because it's very important that as many Ghanaians as possible, in a safe manner, we know we are in the COVID-19 era, are able to get onto the electoral and make their voices heard come December 2020.
Well, Okay, let's do myjoyonline.com. Let's check out what's on our main page. But just by way of other updates, whilst we get ready to do My Joy Online, 24 health workers in the northern region have contracted coronavirus, out of which 17 are from the Tamale Teaching Hospital. So currently 8 are on admission, whilst the rest are at home. The Northern Regional Director of Ghana Health Service, Dr. John Eliza, disclosed this on the sidelines of a meeting with the Metropolitan, Municipal, and district chief executives and heads of department to dialogue on how far the region has moved before, during, and after relaxing some of the restrictions by the president. So our correspondent Martina Bugri did file this report. Right now, the national case count is at 15,473 infections since the outbreak in March. 11,431 of them have recovered, with nearly 4,000 active cases. The death toll is 95. So yesterday I heard Mr. Martin People make the case that because of coronavirus, I mean, despite the fact that you've won a case at the Supreme Court, you have the right to do what you're doing, consider coronavirus and relax some of the things that you've held yourself, essentially, and consider those who would not register, those who would not register in December, allow them to vote using the old register.
I mean, that's just a moral reasoning. At the end of the day, it's a law that works. But we also have to clarify that the recoveries are also stroke discharges. If you go to the United States now, Dr. Fauci has now asked 14 states to ask citizens, or even not 12 states, to ask citizens to go into self-quarantine if they cross states. So they do cross-state travel. So if you travel from New York State to the next state, you go into self-quarantine for 14 days. Perhaps maybe there's some lessons that we can learn. And we know that America now is the topmost country with the highest rate of infections and fatalities. But look, we can always ask. They have an imposed fine of some $1,000 US if you don't wear face masks. So you're caught, you face the full rigors of the law. You will not call any DCE or MC or MP there.
Okay, Joseph Akable.
Amavi.
You're not a Liverpool fan, are you?
Not at all. In fact, Liverpool humiliated my Barcelona sometime back. I'm not a fan of Liverpool at all. It's quite unfortunate that the league wasn't cancelled because of COVID-19.
Okay, stay with your Kotoko and your Barca. Enjoy the rest of the day, Joseph Akable.
You should have been cancelled because of COVID-19. You should have been cancelled.
Okay, so I think I must do this. Congratulations to the Liverpool supporters. I've been on your case. After 30 years, you have something to be proud of. But thanks to Chelsea.